Hey guys, this is a quick explanation of the unit circle. All right, so we are looking at 16 points on this unit circle, which is a circle with a radius of 1, centered at 0, 0. So the first thing that we set out to learn was the degree measures. So we decided as a class that out this area right here out east is 0 degrees. All right, so we need a starting point. So this starting point is going to be 0 degrees. All right, then you can probably tell that if I look directly north, that's 90 degrees, and directly west is 180 degrees. So I'm counting by 90, 0, 90, 180, so on and so forth. My intervals right here, you can tell that I'm cutting 90 into thirds. So I go 0, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. All right. The next thing that you can see is that we missed a couple of angles, and those are the angles directly in between 30 and 60, which would be 45, and between 120 and 150, which is 135. All right. Therefore, we can also count by 45 degrees. So it's 0, 45, 90, 135, 180. All right. The bottom half of the unit circle works in the same way. The more important thing to learn right here is radians. All right, seeing that radians are a little less intuitive. All right, so for radians, let me move this a little bit. The circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. All right, in other words, there are 2 pi quantity of radians in one revolution of a circle. That's why right here at 360 degrees, or one revolution of a circle, you see the radians 2 pi. All right, so again, there are 2 pi radians around the circumference of a circle. All right, so 2 pi equals 360. If 2 pi equals 360, then we can very easily figure out that 1 pi equals 180. So I mentioned to the class that to always remember that pi equals 180. Pi radians and 180 degrees are the same angle measure. Radians are an angle measure. All right, so from that come the rest of all of these radian measures. If 180 is pi, then half of 180, which is 90, would be half a pi. That's why you see at 90 degrees is pi over 2. All right. And so on and so forth. We can look at fractions, right? Half of a half, in other words, half of pi over 2 would be a fourth. So half of 90 is 45. If we look at 45 degrees, that's pi over 4. All right. A third of a half, or a third of pi over 2, would be a sixth. So a third of 90, which is 30, is 1/6 of a pi. All right, so here's the way that I explain to the class of how we can count by sixths. All right, so if you notice that 30 degrees is a sixth of pi. Okay, 30 degrees is a sixth of pi, meaning that it is 1/6 part of what a pi is. All right, again, 30 degrees is basically 1/6 of a pi. All right, and that's because pi is 180. If you think of it, 30 is a sixth of 180. All right, so we can basically count our radian measures like this. 0, of course, well, 0 is just 0, but we go to 30 degrees and we get 1/6 of a pi, pi over 6. 60 degrees is 2 pi over 6, which reduces to 1 pi over 3. 90 degrees is 3 pi over 6, which reduces to 1 pi over 2. 2 pi over 3 is the next one. That would be 4 pi over 6, but reduced. Then there's 5 pi over 6 at 150, 6 pi over 6 at 180, which is reduced, 7 pi over 6 at 210, 8 pi over 6 at 240, reduced, 9 pi over 6 at 270, which is reduced, 10 pi over 6 at 300, reduced again, and 11 pi over 6 at 330. Then the only ones remaining are the 45-degree angles, which are quarters of a pi, right? So 45 is 1 pi over 4, 90 is 2 pi over 4, 135 is 3 pi over 4, 180 is 4 pi over 4, again, reduced. 225 is 5 pi over 4, 270 is 6 pi over 4, 315 is 7 pi over 4, and 360 is 8 pi divided by 4, or 2 pi. And that's the unit circle, degrees and radians.